So I'd like to preface this by saying that I don't necessarily think PewDiePie is a Nazi, at least not overtly, but he's been getting really popular recently, and I just wanted to share some of my thoughts on the whole thing. And of course, I don't think he was directly responsible for the shooting in Christchurch, but I'll talk more about it later. For now, I'll just put a link to the fundraising page for the victims of the shooting so you can just go donate there. Anyway, PewDiePie, better known as Felix Schellberg because that's his name, is a Swedish internet personality, multi-millionaire clothing executive and professional gamer who owns, at the time of writing, the largest channel on YouTube. This is noteworthy because over the last year or so he's been engaged in a tense battle against a rival channel called T-Series, which is a music company from India. Okay, cool. So why do people care? I don't know, why do people care? From what I gather, it seems that people are rallying around PewDiePie as some kind of anti-corporate, anti-big business revolutionary, proudly flying the banner of the oppressed proletariat of YouTube, storming the Bastille of San Bruno, California, to bring freedom and liberty to the online masses. Gamers of the world, no. Felix is not an anti-corporate revolutionary. He's not even anti-corporate. He undoubtedly has a full team of producers and executives helping him churn out video after video, and all the while he's making literally millions of dollars from the whole affair. YouTube doesn't hate him, as many of his fans will claim. As long as he's profitable, YouTube probably fucking loves him. After all, they're the big winners from all of this. The more people subscribe to both channels, the more money YouTube, T-Series and PewDiePie all make. And that's really one of the reasons why this whole thing is so frustrating to me. Because the millions of people who have come out in support of PewDiePie are right to accuse corporations of ruining YouTube. Fuck. Corporations ruin everything. The problem, however, is that their sacred hero is a key part of the issue, and by positioning himself as a champion of the people, Felix has been able to gain a huge amount of supporters while keeping them blind to the real underlying issue. Felix doesn't want the corporations that control everything to go away. Of course he doesn't. He just wants it to go back to a time when he was the one controlling everything, and he was the one at the top of the pile. And that's where we get to. So, at this point I think it's pretty obvious that Felix feels some sympathies towards the far right. You just have to look at the Twitter accounts he follows and the voices he platforms to know where he stands politically. But for those of you who are blessedly uninitiated, I just wanted to take a moment to recap all the shit he's done in the last 2 years or so. For starters, we have the numerous cases of him dog-whistling white supremacist or Islamophobic rhetoric in his videos, and disguising them as jokes. Presumably jokes so funny you can't help but repeat them to yourself as you open fire on a crowd of innocent people. There's also the whole gamer word thing, which has been done to death by now. I will point out though that it's pretty suspicious that you would just accidentally blurt out racial slurs in your second language. Then there was the noteworthy case from a few years ago where he paid 2 people to hold up a sign saying "Death to all Jews," and it's here that I think we should talk about edgy humour. As the old saying goes, if it looks, swims and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. And if you get called a Nazi, and all the Nazis defend you, and a Nazi name drops you before going on a mass killing spree, then it's probably time to take a good long look in the mirror. Finally, we get to more recent stuff. He follows people like Lauren Southern and Ben Shapiro on Twitter, both of whom have directly inspired white supremacist mass shootings. In Ben Shapiro's case, he even invited him onto his show for a special one-off episode as a co-host. He's also given shout-outs to people like E:R, a person who has repeatedly parroted fascist dog whistles. In the 24 hours after receiving a shout-out from PewDiePie, E:'R's channel got more than 15,000 new subscribers, so that should just give you a picture of how influential Felix is. Felix has also recommended books by Jordan Peterson and Yukio Mishima. Peterson, as I'm sure you're all aware, is famous for spreading his neo-reactionary beliefs in his self-help book, 12 Rules for Life. But also noteworthy is Mishima, who Felix describes as his favourite author. Yukio Mishima, better known as Kimitake Hiroka, because that's his name, was a Japanese imperialist neo-Nazi who, in 1968, formed a fascist militia which later attempted to overthrow the Japanese government. He failed, by the way. He failed so badly that he killed himself. Nevertheless, Felix claims that he fell in love with Mishima's ideas. And I think that's dangerous. Recently it seems as if Felix has been getting more and more overt in his political views, and he's no doubt played a huge role in normalising some of the language he uses. It's sometimes easy to forget, but he is quite literally one of the most influential people in the world right now, and it seems like he's desperate to make it stay that way. All he had to do was apologise for some bad taste jokes and the problem would have gone away. But instead of doing that, he doubled down, and now the only people defending him are far-right reactionaries. So it's really only natural that he would go on to insert the alt-right into his own personal brand. The big problem, however, is that he still has a sizable audience of young children, and that's when you get subscribe to Pewdiepie scrolled into the Holocaust Memorial. And let's talk about that itself for a minute. All jokes aside, I think it's got to the point where subscribe to Pewdiepie is now a fascist dog whistle. I don't know what other explanation you can give to a man reminding people to subscribe to Pewdiepie before live streaming New Zealand's worst terrorist attack in recorded history. I think I should clarify that no, Pewdiepie didn't literally inspire someone to kill 50 people in a mosque in New Zealand. Of course he didn't, literally no one is saying that. But through his association with the people who did, he's sending out a message that these views are normal, and he's contributed to an atmosphere that's allowing people to feel okay about attacking people in their place of worship. Imagine if, tomorrow, Felix released a video on his channel where he fully and unambiguously distances himself from these people. It'd be great. I could stop getting in shit for daring to criticise one of the internet's most famous people. But I can't, because he won't. And after you've finished watching this video, just think about what that says. Because personally, I think that says indifference. And when you're indifferent to white supremacy, you might as well be compliant.